The idea behind the Burevestnik was both ambitious and terrifying. In 2018, Vladimir Putin proudly unveiled it as part of a new generation of invincible weapons designed to outsmart NATO defenses. The concept was that a small nuclear reactor would power the missile, allowing it to fly for days or even weeks, traveling around the globe before striking its target. In theory, this meant it could evade radar systems, change direction mid-flight, and hit anywhere on Earth. Putin boasted that no existing defense system could stop it, but as history shows, there's a big difference between boasting and reality. From the beginning, experts around the world doubted the project's feasibility. Building a compact, lightweight, and stable nuclear reactor small enough to fit into a missile is an engineering nightmare. Even the United States tried something similar during the Cold War under Project Pluto, which aimed to create a nuclear-powered ramjet missile. That project was canceled in the 1960s because it was simply too dangerous and impractical. Russia, however, decided to revisit the same idea decades later, thinking that advancements in technology could make it possible. But what they discovered was that the laws of physics and the limits of safety still apply. The missile's nickname, Flying Chernobyl, isn't an exaggeration. Each test of the Burevestnik carries the risk of spreading radioactive contamination. The reactor on board uses uranium fuel, and if something goes wrong, it could scatter radioactive debris over a wide area. Unfortunately, that's exactly what seems to have happened multiple times. Several test attempts reportedly ended in crashes, with the missile plunging into the Arctic Ocean or the Russian countryside. Instead of demonstrating power, these failures have exposed Russia's lack of control over its own dangerous technology. One of the most infamous incidents occurred in August 2019, near the village of Nyanoxa in northern Russia. An explosion at a military testing site killed at least 7 people, including some of Russia's top nuclear scientists. The blast caused a spike in radiation levels, alarming nearby residents and triggering international concern. For several days, the Russian government tried to cover up what happened. Local officials told people everything was fine, but independent monitoring stations detected a rise in radiation that proved otherwise. Western intelligence agencies quickly suspected that the explosion involved the Burevestnik missile, and subsequent reports confirmed it. This tragic event revealed just how secretive and reckless Russia's weapons testing program had become. Instead of learning from disasters like Chernobyl, the Kremlin seemed determined to repeat them this time, in pursuit of an unrealistic dream of nuclear-powered dominance. The scientists who died were working on a project that many experts believe was doomed from the start. Even Russian military insiders reportedly questioned whether the Burevestnik could ever be deployed safely or reliably. Beyond the technical challenges, there's also the environmental cost. When one of these missiles crashes and several have, it doesn't just disappear. The wreckage is highly radioactive, contaminating the land and sea around it. In 2018, Western intelligence sources reported that Russian submarines were dispatched to recover a lost missile from the Barents Sea after a failed test. The mission reportedly lasted weeks, and some of the debris might never have been retrieved. Imagine the environmental consequences of dumping nuclear material into Arctic waters already under stress from climate change. For Russia, the Burevestnik was supposed to be a symbol of technological prestige. But instead, it's become an international embarrassment. Even Russian state media, which usually glorifies military projects, has gone silent about it in recent years. The last known test attempts reportedly occurred in 2023 and 2024, but none were declared successful. Satellite imagery and intelligence leaks suggest that testing continues sporadically at remote sites, but the results are always the same: failure, delay, and risk. The biggest issue with the Burevestnik isn't just its technical flaws, it's the strategic logic behind it. Nuclear-powered cruise missiles were designed to overcome missile defense systems, but modern technology has already made them obsolete. Hypersonic glide vehicles and stealth drones can achieve similar goals without the dangers of nuclear propulsion. The U.S., China, and even smaller nations are focusing on precision, speed, and survivability, not radioactive engines. Russia, however, seems trapped in Cold War thinking, clinging to outdated dreams of global nuclear intimidation. Many analysts believe that Putin's push for weapons like the Burevestnik reflects desperation more than confidence. Russia's conventional military power has been severely tested in Ukraine. Its losses have been massive, and its economy is struggling under sanctions. By showcasing miracle weapons, Putin tries to project strength both to the West and to his own people. But these propaganda stunts can't hide the truth. The Russian military industrial complex is rotting from the inside. Inside Russia, scientists are increasingly reluctant to work on such dangerous projects. Reports from defectors and insiders reveal that many engineers assigned to the Burevestnik program feared for their safety. The pressure to deliver results led to risky shortcuts, secrecy, and accidents. This culture of fear and denial echoes the darkest days of the Soviet Union, where failure was punished and truth was buried under propaganda. The name Burevestnik itself means storm petrel, a bird often seen as an omen of coming storms. Ironically, it seems to have brought exactly that: a storm of disasters, secrecy, and radioactive danger. The more Russia tries to make this weapon work, the more it exposes its weaknesses. Every failed test costs millions of dollars and damages both Russia's reputation and its environment. Even if the missile could somehow function as designed, it would be practically impossible to deploy safely. A nuclear-powered cruise missile would need to be launched from remote areas far from population centers. It would also require an enormous amount of shielding to prevent radiation from leaking into the air or onto personnel. And if such a missile ever malfunctioned mid-flight or was intercepted, it could spread contamination over multiple countries. No responsible military would ever risk that. This is why experts worldwide view the Burevestnik not as a weapon, but as a hazard. It's a mobile radiation source disguised as a missile. Unlike traditional nuclear weapons, which remain stationary until launched, this one risks leaking radiation throughout its flight path. It's the kind of project that sounds terrifying on paper but makes no sense strategically. The risks far outweigh any potential advantage, so why does Russia keep pushing it? The answer likely lies in politics. For Putin, the image of invincible weapons serves as a psychological weapon against the West. He wants to project an image of technological superiority, even when reality proves otherwise. Announcing the Burevestnik in 2018 wasn't about deterrence, it was about distraction. It came at a time when Russia's economy was stagnating and domestic unrest was growing. Promising futuristic weapons helped shift public attention and stoke national pride. But as the years pass, that illusion fades. Leaked intelligence shows that the Burevestnik remains in the testing phase after more than a decade of development. Western analysts estimate that Russia has conducted at least a dozen failed tests since 2017. Each one ends the same way, with explosions, radiation leaks, and silence from Moscow. No operational unit has ever been deployed, and no credible evidence exists that the missile can actually fly as intended. Meanwhile, Russia's competitors continue to advance in areas that actually matter: cyber warfare, satellite defense, and artificial intelligence-driven targeting systems. While Moscow wastes billions chasing an impossible dream, the world is moving on. Even inside Russia, critics whisper that the flying Chernobyl is less a weapon and more a radioactive monument to wasted ambition. It's important to understand just how dangerous even one of these missiles can be. The reactor inside operates by heating air directly as it passes through, propelling the missile forward. That means radioactive particles could be released during flight, even under normal operation. In other words, a successful test could still contaminate the atmosphere. This is why Western scientists describe the Burevestnik as a dirty weapon by design. It doesn't even need to explode to cause harm. Simply flying could spread radiation. The world has already seen the human cost of Russia's obsession with nuclear secrecy. The Chernobyl disaster in 1986 was caused by arrogance, lies, and a refusal to admit failure. The Burevestnik program shows that those lessons were never fully learned. History is repeating itself, this time not in a power plant but in a missile test range. The tragedy is that innocent people, scientists, soldiers, and civilians continue to pay the price. In recent years, as Russia's war in Ukraine intensifies, the Kremlin has tried to revive the image of its superweapons. to intimidate the West. State media occasionally hints that new Burevestnik tests are imminent, but the lack of visible results speaks volumes. Western satellites monitor every move, and each failed test becomes another embarrassment. The missile that was supposed to give Russia infinite reach has instead exposed its infinite shortcomings. Some analysts argue that the Burevestnik is nothing more than a propaganda tool that was never meant to actually work. They believe its main purpose was psychological, to scare NATO and make Russia look more advanced than it really is. If that's true, it has failed even in that role. Today, the Burevestnik is more often ridiculed than feared. Its name has become synonymous with recklessness and failure. As of 2025, no reliable source indicates that the Burevestnik has achieved operational status. The program remains shrouded in secrecy, but every bit of evidence points to ongoing problems. Russia's leadership may continue to claim progress, but the truth is unavoidable. The flying Chernobyl is not a weapon of future, it's a relic of outdated thinking. When future historians look back on this period, they might see the Burevestnik as a perfect example of how obsession with power can blind a nation to reason. It's a missile built not for victory, but for vanity, and just like Chernobyl, it will likely be remembered not for its success, but for the danger it unleashed and the warnings it ignored. The story of Russia's flying Chernobyl is ultimately a cautionary tale. It shows what happens when fear and pride override science and safety. It's about a country trying to relive its Cold War glory days through dangerous experiments that endanger everyone, including its own people. The Burevestnik was meant to soar across the skies, untouchable and unstoppable. Instead, it crashed both literally and symbolically, becoming a radioactive reminder that no nation can defy reality forever. And that's why the Burevestnik is not a triumph of Russian engineering, but a complete disaster. It stands as proof that the pursuit of power without wisdom leads only to ruin. As the world watches, one can only hope that Russia finally learns the lesson it has ignored for far too long, that some ideas are too dangerous to pursue, no matter how powerful they might seem. Thank you for watching, everyone. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into global events and military developments. Stay safe and see you in the next one.